Hey there, folks, and welcome to another episode of Crit Hit Interviews. I'm Arlyeon, and we're here today with Matt Canei.
What's going on? Glad to be here. At last, we get to discuss all of the things.
Did I actually get your last name right? Is it Canei?
You did.
Oh,
You did.
awesome.
You nailed it.
All right, of Impact Games, whom you may know as the developers of Hanako, Honor and Blade. And we'll definitely get into that a bit more, but we'd like to start off our interview just finding a bit more about the person, well, one of the people behind the game. So, first off, and this is just sort of an easy one, do you have a favorite game or games, and what have you been diving into recently, game-wise?
Shenmue 2, absolutely number one favorite. That's why I'm a game developer. The Jedi Knight series, like back in the day, those two are two of my favorites. Most recently, man, I'm terrible at playing games. I'm like between AAA development during the day and Hanako at night. I don't really game. Maybe an hour a week if I'm lucky. But I started Detroit Become Human this weekend, and I absolutely love it. What an awesome game.
I haven't dived into that one yet, though I've seen the memes, like all the Martin Luther King quotes and such, but I have very fond memories of Jedi Knight, like hours upon hours spent playing the like freeware demo with a bunch of friends because it had like fully functioning multiplayer.
Yes, it was. I really wish they'd bring it back in a modern engine with all the cool, like how good animations and everything are. Like lightsaber combat would be so good.
And cutting off your friend's arm,
Yes,
because that was also really good.
mostly that.
Yeah. The fact that there was actually censoring in the game and you had to like turn it off so you could cut someone's arm off and watch them scream, that says something about me. Let's move on. Uh, so what got? Oh yeah, you said what got you into game development was like Shenmue 2, but would you care to elaborate on that?
So there were two things. Jedi Knight actually came first. I started making maps for that when I was like 14, which is 16 years ago. I'm getting old.
Nah.
And then that same later that year, I had rented Shenmue 2 from Blockbuster because I saw it on G4, like way back in the day, when they had their review show, and the writing was just so impactful and was so applicable to real life that it kind of changed my whole life path and made me look at life differently for the better, and kind of wanted to take that and inject it into games. I wanted to make games that could make people feel the same way, that when they're done experiencing the games that I work on, that they'll step back and maybe become a better person because of it.
Fair enough. Now you're working as part of a team, so would you care to maybe tell a bit about your team members and how you came to meet them?
Sure. So 10 years ago in 2008, I was in college, and there was a guy named Connor that we were in classes together. We didn't like each other a whole lot, actually, but he loved feudal Japan. Everything he talked about was something about Japan, and I knew I wanted to make a samurai game and had everything kind of written up. So I approached him, and we became best friends and started it. And shortly after that, we met Ajani, who's our lead programmer, because he was across the street at Georgia Tech. We were at SCAD Atlanta, and we've been best friends ever since. And the three of us are still working on it. The rest of the team, we kind of started the game over in 2013, and we met an awesome programmer named Greg, who's no longer with the team, but he spent 5 years with us, and a lot of the gameplay in Hanako he's responsible for. And then Lawrence, he's our all things audio, music, everything. He's a wizard. Derek, he's our lead animator. I met him through another colleague. He's been with us for a number of years. If you play the ninja or the Nagi Nadashi, a lot of those animations are his. And we had a lot of people help on the side. And then a little more recently, the last year or so, Adam and Christian, they were both students at my college. Years after I graduated, they joined on for mentoring and to learn and to make some pretty awesome stuff for us. And Michael, one of my colleagues, hopped on to take over level design. And then we're just kind of meeting people from forums and the Unreal community. And, when you don't have a budget, it's kind of like whoever you can find that's good, that can make something, and you get them on board.
Fair enough.
That's a really long answer. Holy crap.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fine. Sort of your place to like gush and elaborate upon these things. And actually, speaking upon elaboration and clarification and all that, so you've mentioned already that you're also sort of working on like AAA stuff during the day. So, what sort of skills has game development required you to put to use, and where did you develop those skills?
The foundation was just self-taught. There was like two tutorial sites for making maps for Jedi Academy. I just lived in those websites and kind of figured out stuff. And then went to college for game development. That kind of built the next set of foundation. And then, started in the industry straight out of school. And that's really where you learn most of your stuff. It was still a lot of self-teaching through school and after. I mean, nowadays, like there's so many 3D websites and YouTube, you can pretty much learn whatever you want for games. But it's just I focus on environment art. I wanted to be an environment artist, and that was my job for the first like, 6 years of my career. And I do most of the environment art for Hanako now.
Sounds like a little bit stressful in that part. So, I mean, do you have any strategies that you specifically apply to sort of deal with the rigors of game development as both an indie thing and then also as your job? Because I can't imagine gaming is the best escape from gaming stress.
That's a good question. There's definitely been some low points on the project. The main strategy has been, I mean, I've done martial arts my whole life, and I leaned heavily on mindfulness and meditation type stuff to kind of deal with it all. And either that or I just have gotten used to being burnt out for a decade. I don't know which. and
Jesus.
and my fiance has done a really good job of making sure I stay balanced. And if I spend too much time working, it's like, hey, you should probably relax for a few days. You've been working really hard. You've been staying up till like 3 or 4 a.m. You should probably take care of yourself. And I listen as best as I can. Really, it's been pretty smooth the last 6 months, year. But the early access release was like the most stressful time of my life, probably. It was brutal.
So she's like your emergency panic button, so you know that you're like overworking.
I mean, I kind of know when I do.
Oh, you just can't stop.
When you're an artist and you get in the zone, it's you don't really want to get out of the zone. And sometimes it's like you're so deeply concentrated you don't even know there's what time it is at all. Like you don't even look at the bottom right of the screens. And
Do you forget to eat too when you're like working?
I don't eat at night really, so like my 3 meals are done. I start working at like 10 p.m. So
Oh,
I have a nice bubble tea that's lightly sweetened and a bunch of water, and I go to work.
fair enough. That's still better than my work habits. Alrighty. So, I suppose other than like just the how you unwind, do you have any other hobbies, big or small, that you sort of indulge in?
For the last 7 years, I did Wing Chun, and that was a really big commitment because it was like a really serious program. It required a lot of time and a lot of sacrifice. And I recently walked away from that because I just was like, it was too much stuff between like, it was basically 3 jobs, and I needed some time back. But besides that, I try to travel a lot and take as many vacations as I can, little weekend trips, a lot of concerts. If I can go sing somewhere, I love to sing and rock out. A lot of rock, metal, hardcore kind of stuff. Balance is the key to everything, man. I'll tell you, everything in life, balance is the answer to it.
I feel like I should be taking your advice. That the problem is whether I will or not, but yes. That said, it sounds like you've sort of had like a pretty diverse bit of life experiences here. So do you have any fun game dev related stories?
I'm trying to think of what the best one would be. I'll tell two. When I first got hired, college has a good way of making you feel like you're amazing at art, and usually you're like half as ready for a job as you think. And I got hired at a local studio, High Res Studios, and my first lead just got hired at the same time from Sony, And like one of my first days, he's like, I wouldn't have hired you if I was already here. You're not ready. And then he said, don't talk to me until you finish these like 20 tutorials. And he sent me all these different 3D DVDs, and I literally didn't talk to him until they were done.
Wow.
The second one was Hanako. Back in 2015, we did a Kickstarter. We did Greenlight and then Kickstarter like early that year. Greenlight was great, and then the Kickstarter failed miserably, and like I just like couldn't face the game for 5 months. All I did was play video games all day when I wasn't working. And then there was a chance, an opportunity for us to pitch to investors, and in the front row was my previous boss. I still worked for the company then. He was in the front row as a judge of the like pitch competition, in which I was basically asking for money to go on my own.
Oh boy.
And so as soon as it was over, I approached him just to. They had already known I'd been working on Hanago for 2 years at that point, and it was just kind of funny. We just laughed about it, and he knew that my ask was kind of absurd, but we ended up winning that competition, and it really like kept the project from dying.
That's actually sort of awesome, though. Now, we're actually sort of dabbling on this, but given that Hanako dives into a particular culture and time period, I was curious if there was like folklore or slices of history that were of particular interest to you.
Yes. So we started with in the Sengoku era of feudal Japan. For viewers that don't know what that is, it's basically like the warring states period of Japan, kind of a civil war period. There were, dozens and dozens of samurai factions kind of battling for who protected the emperor. And it was a particularly brutal time. And in our lore, we wrote one clan that defeated all of them except for one, the Hanako clan. And basically the game kind of starts shortly after the Kyoto, the capital, is sieged. The Yamai clan, who are there, kind of the evil bad guys, they kill the emperor. All that's left are his two sons escape, so they can't quite claim the throne yet. And the game kind of starts on this online campaign where the two clans meet for the first time kind of in the middle of Japan, which is like a primary trade route. And all the campaign maps are kind of based on that geography from there.
Which, yeah, I suppose maybe actually dive into this a bit better, since not everyone who's going to stumble across this video will necessarily know what Hanako, the skinny on Hanako. So would you possibly elaborate on the project and what it is you intend for it to be?
Oh yeah, that would have made sense before I went into that. It's a multiplayer class-based game, 12 versus 12 maximum. And it's set in feudal Japan, so you have different samurai classes, a ninja class, and we just kind of have classic takes on game modes that are popular, the team deathmatch and capture the scroll, village siege, and a cool assassination mode where a player from each side actually gets to play as essentially like the boss, the leader of the clan, and they're like super buffed. And it's all kind of built around this campaign that you're starting in the middle, and depending on who wins, you push the enemy clan further back into a different map that's more in their territory until you kind of destroy their village. Then you have to raid their castle. So there's kind of this progression, tug of war progression mechanic. We're really proud of that, though we still have 2 more maps to go before it's done. But the intent is for it to be a different multiplayer experience. A lot of Melee games are very slow, very clunky, and based on giving you plenty of time to react. And this is the combat's vary based on the Jedi Knight series. Different stances, different speeds of attack. You have fast attacks, slow attacks. And then we kind of married that with in-game progression and like kind of MOBA style abilities. So that's kind of the quick like 2-minute pitch for what the game is.
Doubling back for a second, so you said there, like, when a match was determined, it would bump them back. Now, I mean, just to clarify on that, so there's plans for it to be always the same type of map or map style? Like, is the type of conflict that you push them back into going to be fixed, or will that vary? How is the gameplay going to vary as you progress back and forth across the campaigns?
We plan to do different campaigns after we finish this first one. The first one is 7 maps, and essentially there's kind of one of each game mode per side. So you never play the same game mode twice in a row. You kind of start in team deathmatch, and that just gets you introduced. If you hop in the game and play campaign for the first time, you don't have to worry about objectives so much, and we slowly introduce them. After that, you always will play a capture the scroll map, and that's not like traditional capture the flag. There's multiple places that a scroll can appear, and both teams try to capture it. And essentially we're saying like that's the map to the enemy village. The enemy's trying to get the map and destroy it. The other team's trying to catch it to read where they need to go next. And then village is it's a mixture of capture points and destructible objectives. So you have to like blow up a building or a column that's supporting a building and then play capture points. And then like the VIP mode I mentioned earlier. So it's different each time. But it is the same 7 maps.
All right. Then there'll be more added on to that as you start going down the other campaigns.
Yeah, after we get out of early access, we may do more. It completely depends on how well the game does.
Now, inspiration-wise, like, how exactly did this game, in its current state, come to be?
Well, the primary thing is my second year of school, my mom passed away, and I went on winter. We had really long winter breaks in college, and I had like the whole winter to kind of like grieve. And that's where the idea kind of hit me one night when I was trying to sleep that I want to make a game to pay tribute to her and kind of honor her memory and tell her story and kind of make a metaphor for her battle against terminal illness. So I started writing for the next 6 weeks, and the Hanako clan in the game represents her, and the Yamai clan represents cancer. And the way the maps, and I kind of wanted like, hey, whenever you're in Yamai territory, all the maps are going to look diseased and like kind of off-putting and sickly and death. And then when you're in the Hanako, you'll have like the beautiful snow-capped mountains, like petals falling, like very pretty maps. And kind of merge that with the inspiration from Shenmue 2. Like I have this deeply personal backstory. Let's use that to create an impactful experience, which multiplayer makes that particularly challenging.
Huh. Yeah, that actually touches fairly neatly then. So, like, was there any major influences for the artistic side of the game?
Well, early on the game, we tried to do it super, like, hyper realistic and historically accurate, but we were students, we were still learning. We didn't really know how to hit that quality, and it took a lot of years to get to where we are now and how it looks, because we never wanted it to look like an anime game and like have people expect to see like fireballs flying around and stuff. We wanted to keep it like fairly believable, but we did the Hanako maps first. We wanted to hit this kind of spiritual note, and the best way to do that was to exaggerate the environment and bring in a few little mystical things here and there. And that's when we transitioned to kind of like the Borderlands-y, Okami-ish looking style that it has now.
Now, Hanako's always meant to be an online game. It's pretty notable on the Steam page itself. It's something I believe you've said too. But is there going to be any sort of story for players to follow or immerse themselves in that will be like running through the game or one of the campaigns, or is it always just meant to be more of a gameplay focused experience?
I really, really want to do single player. Like even from the very beginning, we talked about like, should we do single player? But we felt like multiplayer was easier at the time when we started, and we've kind of stuck to it. And like cinematics and voice acting and all the stuff we thought we'd need to tell a really good story, we didn't feel like we'd have the resources to do it. So we did multiplayer as a like, we can tell the backstory as a metaphor and tell it through the environment and kind of sell it that way. And hopefully it can do well enough to pay for doing single player later.
So single player would actually be a possibility if if as it is now, manage to, I guess, be popular enough?
Yeah, I would say like if we make enough to where we can be a full-time operation, like one of the first things we'd consider is doing like a episodic single player. Because like, single player games can take you 5 years to make. If you can just do 2 or 3 hours at a time, like a Telltale type game where you're releasing bits and chapters of the story instead of the whole story, that's a reasonable way to develop.
All right. So, do you have any content updates or features that you maybe currently consider implementing for Hanako as it is now, since it's not out of early access yet?
Oh yeah, we're trying to do a big update every quarter, but they've been taking a little bit longer because we're all working on this at night after work, and there's no one working on it full time. Right now, we're working on our third big release. We just released the Archer, the first range character in our game, a month ago, and the first new map. And now we're working on the next map in the campaign, which is the second Yamai map. And we're trying to get a lot of Steam stuff in. Like, we just got parties and friends where you can invite people in to get ready for co-op versus AI. I got some advice from a mentor that was saying that while you guys have a small player base, make co-op versus AI. So you don't need 24 players. Just you need one buddy or even yourself. You can just go in and play. You can hook them up in your existing maps, and it's not a problem. So we're doing that. And we're reworking our heavy stances because people have complained about them and had a hard time learning them for a long time. And our other biggest issue was people wanted to really feel the hits, feel like they're doing damage, and we're going to rework all of our hit reactions too. Actually, we've put our roadmap and what we're working on as like a public Trello, which is just like a little cards-based thing, so anyone can see like what we're working on and what our future plans are.
Alrighty. I'll probably be requesting a link to that so I can post it in the description to this video, which people will be able to check whenever. So, yeah. Other than that, then, I believe there was mention of cosmetics, which how will that be handled for Hanako?
So in the short term, during early access, the first thing we because we know we can do this, like, so just some background. But the way we develop is like we really look at what our team's capable of. Like there's 6 of us right now, and we say like, here's the ideal. We're going to design the ideal, but then we have to design like what we can actually do, and we'll keep the ideal on the back burner until we have the resources to do it. So we kind of do like simpler versions, and the first version of that is weapon customization, because it's pretty easy to model a weapon and swap it for your existing one once you buy the thing. And since we're on Steam, we'll just use the Steam inventory system and all that stuff. So weapons will come first, and we plan to do that during early access before full release. And then we can do helmets pretty easily and masks. Doing full armor sets will be harder because like all of our characters, they're not really made for armor. That was just a mistake we made in development. They're all like the armor's part of the character model. So like you can't just replace the chest plate because his body is the chest plate, if that makes sense. So like we'd have a lot of rework to do to make armor sets, but there's certain things we can do. We'll try figuring out if we can replace like shoulder pads and other things that are like their own pieces and have like really cool ones with spikes on them or whatever. That's kind of our plan because we think the game really needs it. Everyone wants it. It's an important part to modern multiplayer games. It's how most of them make their money. So
Custom banners?
we've had that suggested, not just from you, to have like, dude, let us have like family crests for like our guild that we get to wear on our back. And since you're the probably third or fourth person to ask for that, that's definitely on the list to consider very seriously because it's not a lot of work to do.
It's also just like a fun thing since it's sort of accurate to that, and it gives you just the ability to mess around with stuff.
It's totally accurate, and people would really like seeing like their own flag like flipping around. We just have to figure out like the like how we manage or like moderate what if we let people upload like custom icons, because there's going to be like freaking neo-Nazi ones like right away and like offensive things.
I was mentioning like hentai right off the bat.
Oh,
Someone
yeah,
is
of course.
probably going to upload like tentacle porn as their family crest.
Yeah, so we might just have to like have a submission process and like pre-vet it or something. I don't know, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, and hopefully it's not a
Presets that you can just sort of like customize between certain shapes or whatever, and whatever. There are ways.
yeah.
In any case, though, so how exactly is like acquiring the cosmetics going to be handled within the context of the game?
Probably just through like the Steam store page. You'll be able to just open up the store and see the items that are available and buy them, and they'll become available. And we'll need to make a kind of like a character equip screen. Like right now, we have a character viewer where you can like look at the characters and their abilities and spin them around. That just basically reworking that screen to include like what weapon do I want to equip for the next fight or the next match or until I change it. I've seen games do it a bunch of different ways when they're using Steam. I've seen it equipped like straight from the store page, and I think that it should be pretty simple for players.
So are cosmetics going to be like strictly purchasable through Steam, or will there be other manners to unlock some of them, or?
I've been researching it recently because I didn't know a whole lot about it, and the inventory system is really awesome because you can set up like all the criteria for like how you can have something unlock based on like playtime or like other criteria. So it makes sense for us to reward players for that kind of stuff. And like out of game progression is something like we're really going to focus on because we have like one more core gameplay mechanic to do, the skill tree system, and then after that it's all focus on cosmetics and Steam features and leaderboards and like having players have a reason to play besides just winning a match.
Back up a second, though. Skill trees? I played the early access. There was no skill trees. Tell me more.
Oh, but there will be soon. In short, if you've noticed, you start with two abilities and eventually you get a third one.
Yeah, you're like ultimate thingy.
Yeah, that is like simulating leveling. What we always intended was for you to have basically three categories of skills you can choose. One being abilities, one being talents, which are basically like double tap, evade type moves. Like you'll pick between two of them per class. It'll either be like a spacebar double tap type move or a double tap one of the movement keys, like a dash or a dive roll. If you remember the dive rolls in Jedi Academy.
Yes.
Stuff like that, and then straight stat boost, just like plus 10 armor, like simple stats. And you'll have six of them to choose from, and you'll have 5 skill points. And basically, after you pick 4 things, you'll unlock your ultimate essentially for your last skill point. And then we'll consider, as our team grows, we actually designed it originally to be 6 different abilities and have it really customizable on what your build and what your kit is instead of just having always the same 4 or the same 3. It's like you can pick 2 of the 6 plus like 1 of 3 ultimates, but that just was like way too much work for our team. So we'll keep it simple. But yeah, that's going to be in the next big release as well.
Fair enough. So I guess it's a pretty good segue into this, but what's been the hardest challenge while making the game so far?
Getting sleep. But besides that, keeping a consistent team together, because like no one's getting paid and it's all delayed gratification. It's a lot of people come and go, and someone will hop on and get their hopes up and expect like a huge payday, like we're all going to get rich and like pull a PUBG and like overnight have millions of players. And it's just keeping things reasonable and keeping an open mind. Like when you've worked on a project for 5 years, it's easy to just be like, we know what we're doing. It's all designed. We're like, but you still have to listen to your team, even more so when they're doing it for free. Because if you don't listen, then why the hell are they working on it?
Fair. So I suppose I'm going to throw you a bit more of a hopefully fun question here, but as so far during the development, has there been any bugs, glitches, or exploits that you folks have found notable or fun or heartrending over the course of development?
Yes. Most recently, for like the last 4 months, so like we've used AI in our game a lot. We just put like 6 to 10 of them in every server, just so like if a new player hops in late at night, there's someone in there or something for them to fight, because we got yelled at for not doing it at initial early access release, and our player base is still baby. And so they auto balance. So if like 2 players come in, the bots will like make sure the teams are always even. and they weren't updating team colors. So like you would see like Hanako bots on the Yamai team, and you had no idea who to attack.
Okay.
And it was, and when there's like 10 of them, it's like a cluster. Like you have no idea who's an enemy and who's not, and we could not figure out how to freaking fix it. And like we outline our enemies in red, and like their name turns red, and like that part would work, but their actual character was like the wrong colors, and we could not figure it out. And it took like a week of just me clicking stuff to get it to work, and it was so difficult to fix. But it's fixed now, and now you know what's happening.
Any other, I guess, any of the little things at least a bit more enjoyable than that?
Oh, I have a better one. This one's hilarious. So I was trying to figure out how to make like I mentioned before, like people always kind of complain that you can't tell when you're hitting stuff. So I found a way to fix it, and it looked way better when you hit someone. They like kind of jolt around, and it was obvious. But what I didn't know is what would happen when you were on an actual server with people, and because when you test it in like the Unreal editor, you're local, like you're not on a server. It's just like you in like a vacuum. So like most of the time it works. You'll hear game developers all the time like it worked in the editor. And so every time anything got attacked, it would become 20 times the size. And then at the same time, I had prototyped a decapitation thing. So like if you killed someone, like their head would fly off and like roll around like a soccer ball. And it would make their heads also become 20 times larger. So you'd see these giant heads the size of the screen rolling around. And also what would happen is like you would hit a bot and they would scale up, but they would also be attacking. Because they're 20 times the size, they would hit everything in the map.
Oh God! What? I was like, I mean, it's not going to increase its hit.
It
It increased the hitbox. Okay. I mean, at least it would die really quickly because everyone would be able to hit it. But it's going to hit every.
No, everyone was just getting like phantom killed. We had no idea what was happening.
Wow.
It was a really funny test, but we were also cracking up because we just saw like giant ninja heads rolling down the stairs, but they're like the size of the whole map.
Wow.
I have screenshots of it somewhere. We were all just dying on Discord. It was hilarious. That's got to be the best one.
So, wow. I'm like trying to maintain a pace, but I'm just like trying to picture this, and it's just the best mental image of someone like lopping someone's head off, and the head just instantly exploding and like flying into them and taking them out.
Yeah.
That needs to be a comic.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Hanako isn't out of early access yet, so a lot can change. But is there anything feature-wise that you folks had been mulling over included and decided against? I mean, you already mentioned the single player is postponed and that the skill system's been pared down, but is there anything else, or possibly that might not be making a reappearance?
That's a good question. I mean, there's like, if you look at our original design, it was like 16 maps, 3 different campaigns. Every character, you could level him into like a elite version with a new weapon. And like we had all these, it was a really big game. And like most of that stuff has gone away because we realized like the amount of work to let a Naginatashi like use a Tetsubo, a studded club, it's the same as just making a Tetsubo class, and having like a Tetsubo class would just be better for us than doing that. So like we've just kind of shuffled how those things work. So there won't be any new classes during early access. The archer was the only one we wanted to do. However, there are 4 we want to do once the game comes out. But that's not your question. Your question was what is not coming back.
I mean, if you want to give us hints on what those 4 classes are.
Hints, 2 of them are female.
Is there a Kunoichi class already?
That might be one of them.
Yeah, okay. So it's a Kunoichi thingy. And the Tetsubo was the Naginata character. Is that male or female?
He is male. Actually, the Tetsubo class is not one of the 4, but if there's a 5th, it would probably be Tetsubo, because giant heavy club would be cool in our game.
Wait, I think I can remember one because wasn't there a mention of a priest thing?
Uh, that's possible. There might be a warrior monk, perhaps.
Okay. So there's two for you folks, and if a fifth ever gets released, it'll probably be the Tetsubo. Also, because there's one guy on your server who was like, "Oh my God, is there going to be an Oni?" I think you guys answered no.
We will not be doing. We don't really want to get in the rabbit hole of like mythical creatures, even though Japan has some really amazing ones in their lore and mythos. But we'd rather just keep it to like realistic samurai characters for the most part.
Alrighty.
There's nothing stopping us from doing that as a boss or having really awesome Oni masks, but that is very different than an Oni class.
Wait, Oni boss?
If we ever decide to do like boss characters for co-op versus I don't think we will because it's a lot of work, but we haven't explicitly said we're not ever going to do that either.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, while we've been bantering back and forth, have you recalled anything yet that's been dropped unanimously?
I'm trying to think of. There's been a lot of stuff that I really wanted to do, and the whole team was like, "No, I'm gonna quit if we do that." I'm trying to think of what they were. I don't know. I don't think I have. I really wanted freaking server admin forever, and no one wanted to do it. And I'm like, you have to be able to change maps on a server that you're renting from somewhere. And we finally got it fixed for early access too, that we released in June. But it took a long time. I was like, I just want to change the freaking map if it goes to a map I hate. Everyone has that one map in every game that they're like, nope, auto change.
But yeah, I guess we can leave that off and instead ask. So, have any favorite memory of watching someone play your game?
There was two of them. We had a guy in our community named Minnie Ducker, and he always came on our Discord, and he had a really like deep radio sounding voice, and everything he said sounded hilarious. He was the master of. He would run in circles inside objective areas, and no one could ever kill him, even though you knew he was just running in circles. It became so popular, the entire community calls it the Minnie Ducker technique. Anytime anyone runs in circles, and it's become kind of like an inside thing. And it's hilarious every time he used to do it. It was made extra funny by him saying like deep radio voice things at the same time. More recently, actually last week, so like every Wednesday at like 10, we do like the entire dev team gets on at the server, and we invite like anyone who wants to play to just come play. And while like if we have an experimental feature, we'll do a patch to test out during the event and just hang out with the community. And this dude I've never seen before hopped on, and he played a ninja like the entire like 2 or 3 hours, and he played it so close to the ninja's personality. Like it was like role playing level dedication. He was like hiding in bushes, you wouldn't see him for a while, then out of nowhere he'd pop out and like grapple you and like cut off your head. And he'd be kill stealing like crazy and throwing poison darts. Like he was so good at the ninja for someone I've never seen in the game. And we were just like, he led kills every match, and I've never seen anyone play the ninja like so close to like how you imagine a ninja. It was pretty impressive. It was really fun to watch too. I tried to be on the opposite team and just hunt them down, and failed most of the time.
Fair enough. So, yeah, actually, on this subject, do you have any other good memories of just playing with the community or against them?
Oh yeah, the you know, it sucks to admit, but there's only been probably 2 or 3 times we actually had a full like 24-person match. And one of those times was like the night of early access, like right when it came out. We had full games like the whole night. I stayed up till like 5 in the morning playing because I was like, this is the first time we designed the whole game for 24 people. We had no idea if it even works because we couldn't get that many people to test. And we get like probably 10 to 15 most tests. So like seeing the game work for the first time with 24 people is awesome. And we had a moment where everyone, regardless of team, meditated in a circle, and we got some really awesome screenshots. And then the second release in June, we did a similar event, and we had the YouTubers community do a bunch of broadcasting, and like a clan, like a community of them, like 6 of them got on, and they played against us the whole night. It was like a clan tournament, and they whooped our ass. Like we're devs. We know we played the game for 5 years. We're good at the game, and they were just they had elite tactics. We kept telling them like, what the heck? Like, you guys have elite tactics. You're actually on voice chat.
Yeah, we were. That was us, by the way.
No. Like, yeah. You guys are a bunch of bastards. I love you, though. But I'm glad that you're interviewing me and you're part of one of my favorite community memories, because it was awesome. I could have that a repeat experience with you guys and your coordination every week, and it would be so much more enjoyable for us. I loved those matches.
I mean, you also demolished me the first time I ran into you, because, like, I only played with Lovi being a ninja, and then it's like, oh, Dev's being, oh, I am so dead and poisoned. This is what poison's like. It's why I started going after you specifically, is because you just, like, handed my ass to me so thoroughly as a ninja. I'm like, okay, you need to die now. Like, that's just it. I'm just devoting myself to learning how to fight you.
And then you guys started coordinating, and then it was very bad because we definitely did not coordinate ourselves.
Oh yeah, there was flanking going on. And so this is a thing. I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but for any of the scroll maps, we were specifically coordinating, so we were in every single spawn point of the scroll at once. And so we would just immediately grab it when it popped, and then we'd all, like, collapse down on the person who had it.
It's a good tactic. We actually, like, so that's one of the things, like, we could never, when, like, 8 people are in a scroll map, there's not enough people to even do that, really. Like, you can, but we didn't really see it. Like, everyone kind of focused on, like, the active point and kind of just fight somewhere until the scroll popped up. But that was the first time we saw, like, actual coordination on that map. We never won a scroll match against you guys, I don't think.
No.
I don't even know if we had I don't even think we had a single capture. I think it was a clean sweep every time.
No, you actually got some the first time because we were a little disorganized, and then I got everyone, because, like, we were originally, like, supporting, like, everyone, because there's, you know, a bunch of people there, and then I was like, wait, this isn't working. Okay, everyone, planning time. This a ways. And that's when it just was like, oh, this works really well.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. No, I actually had a lot of fun, like, doing that, and it was pretty, it's great. There actually is a video of this going up. It probably should be coming up soon, actually. The video of that, which ended in, like, us dueling.
Yeah, that was awesome. I think that event night was the most fun I've ever had playing this game, because the first launch was special because it was, like, on the 10-year anniversary of my mom's passing. We saved the initial release date for it just to do it on that day, and, like, it was, like, sentimental, but, like, from a pure, like, fun playing the game, that event with you guys was so fun. And, like, the game progressed. There was a lot of new stuff to do. The Ite was in there, and the community of people that I mean, if you guys weren't part of that, it would have been such a horrendous bust, because, like, the free weekend was like the same time as E3 and For Honor did a free weekend, and it was like we wouldn't have even had anyone to play probably if you guys didn't show up. So, and on top of that, it was really freaking fun.
Yeah, I'm sincerely glad you enjoyed that. Like, we had a lot of fun getting, like, properly introduced. I mean, there was, like, I think a day of us prepping and practicing before everything went down, and then we were like, okay, I think we're ready. And then I was not ready for the ninja bits, but I got ready after, from, like, actually playing against players. Training against, and it, like, the AI did not prepare me at all for playing against players.
Very different experience. It's all about baiting into your charge move, or baiting them to use their charge move.
Or baiting them into, like, getting ambushed by 2 other players.
Yes. You have learned.
But yeah, no, I also just cracking up that it was, like, us that was sort of part of a high point of that, because you're, like, describing me, I'm like, I don't think he realizes that we're the crit hit people, like, the same ones. So that's good. That was flattering and fun for me. I guess just for the outro wise bits, Normally, I just sort of like to ask just any bits of wisdom that you might have for either the audience, something you'd like to share, or words that you might have for aspiring devs.
Man, I could give a hour. I could write a book on that. I probably should. How to boil it down to something quick. If you want to develop games and you haven't yet, there's so many resources out there. Like, you don't need a class or a college or whatever to learn the craft of game development. There's infinite information out there. Unreal Engine's free to download. I think Unity's free to download. Like, go start making stuff. If the game allows mod support and lets you make maps, go make maps. If you can like make weapons for a game, go make weapons. And if you have the means to go to school for it, go to school for it. But teach yourself as much as you can the whole time, because it's like so competitive. And there's thousands and thousands of people that want every like junior position. So you have to be like the best of the juniors and the, college grads. So, teach yourself, but also take care of yourself. I see almost every game dev student that's in school for it. They're sleep deprived all the time. They don't sleep. I'm one of those people. Like, I probably average 5 or 6 hours of sleep the last 10 years, and it takes its toll. Taking care of yourself, your life and your sleep and your health is not worth game development. Even at a job that pays you, that wants you to work late, it's not worth your health to sacrifice, unless it's your own studio, in which case maybe you should stay up late sometimes, but still get your 8 hours. Drink lots of water, eat good things, don't drink crappy energy drinks, drink good teas. They'll do the same thing, and you won't be shaky and feel terrible. But understand it's an incredible amount of work, way more work than anyone would ever think or know. It requires every type of scientific-minded, logical type people, artistic, creative type people, and because of that, it's the most beautiful art form in the world, because nothing else requires so many different types of people to create it. And as a gamer, respect developers for how it's an incredible amount of effort to ship a game, and the entitlement that a lot of people have with products, not just games, but especially games. Development is really hard, and games deserve critiques and they deserve feedback, and developers do their best. And if they don't listen, then I understand the heat, but otherwise just understand that even the smallest things in games could take months of time to develop.
Yeah, I'd say that was a pretty thorough summary of just good advice in general. I guess other than that, is there any indie projects that you yourself have been following that you'd like to share with the audience?
It's not really indie because it's like the biggest Kickstarter ever, but of course Shenmue 3. I've been waiting 16 years for it. It technically is an indie project. One of my good friends and supporters, Rachel Mack, I call her Mother Indie. The Wild Mage. What's the other? There's one other one that she's introduced me to that's really impressive. Really, I should do a better job following indie projects, but it's a tunnel vision thing. It's like I get 4 hours a night to work on it. I don't even know like AAA games always. So I'll give Wild Mage the biggest shout out.
Not heard of Wild Mage until you mentioned it. So
much love to one of my good friends, Anthony, Prolium Tactics. It's a tactical RPG, or RTS, and he's an awesome dude. I don't know exactly when that's coming out, but that's worth a look in the future for people that love tactical RTS type games. Besides that, I mean, much love and support to everyone that is on that indie grind. It's not an easy life.
I duly appreciate you making the time to come on the show today. It was awesome to have you here and sort of just shoot the breeze.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Thanks for having me on. I'm sorry for the delays before, but it's always awesome to talk. And now that I know that you guys are the ones that kicked our ass, I'm like, you guys are even better friends now. Friends through combat.
I mean, it's so Animu, it works. To the audience also, just thanks for tuning in, and if any of you are from the Hanako community, thumbs up, definitely appreciated. Now, for those folks who aren't from that community, you can buy Wishlist Hanako on Steam for news. There's @PlayHanako on Twitter, plus they also have a Facebook and a website that you can check out with links to all of the above in the video description. along with that whole roadmap of what's coming up next. Is there anywhere else you'd care to send people?
I think the most important place is the Discord. There's links all over. Discord.gg/play Hanako is the quickest way. That's like someone from the dev team's always on there. We love to see new people come in there, and it's the best place to get feedback and let people know when events are happening and stuff. Like everything goes through our Discord.
And there'll be another link to that in the description just to make sure. So yeah, beyond that, thanks folks for tuning in. Thanks again, Matt, for also lending us your time. And if you enjoyed this content, feel free to give it a like. Hit that subscribe button and the little bell to get notifications if you want to see more content like this. And seriously, whether you subscribe or not, comment below and let us know what you thought of this, and maybe if there's an indie project that you'd like to see us talk about or dive into next. In the meantime, this was Arlyeon, and we'll catch you next time, folks.